Hello, my friends. I hope you're doing well. This is a new update about Syria. Today is the 13th of March 2025. Abu Muhammad al-Jolani, who is called by the press Ahmed al-Shara, has appointed himself as the new president of Syria for an interim government for another 5 years. And this is just news coming from Syria, which means elections, government, parliament, etc., are all going to be discussed in 5 years from now. So imagine what could happen to Syria from now on to 5 years. The entire situation in Syria has changed in a matter of 14 days when the regime change operation restarted and a coup happened in Damascus and things have turned upside down. And then in the past 1 week, the massacres that we have watched televised on our social media platforms have changed the social equations completely in the country. Now, all the same Syrian people, regardless of their religion, sect, ethnicity, religion, etc., they don't believe that the government, between brackets, of course, of Abu Muhammad al-Jolani could present them any sort of civilized outcome to this so-called political process that will last for 5 years. So God knows what could happen from now on to 5 years. I think the situation will definitely be in a worse place, especially that Syria is on strategic level, let's say, military geopolitics, is losing every day new ground and new land to Israel, and Israel is advancing in the south, and Israel will never withdraw from these territories. They will establish a 60-kilometer long demilitarized zone in the country, and Damascus is technically fallen in the hands of the Israelis because now in the south of Damascus, the Jolani gangs have no presence, and then Israel has military superiority by occupying the Mount Hermon, and they already have the aerial superiority. So if the Israelis want, they can just roll into Damascus in a matter of few hours. So technically Damascus has fallen, and now Latakia, Tartus, Jable, Banias have fallen as well, because these governorates and the people living here, they will never accept in their hearts the governance or the rule of Jolani. So they are in front of two options now, or maybe three options, I'm not sure. If they want to carry out arms and fight, then they will be massacred because it seems that there is no one giving them tangible support. I'm not an advocate for any of these options. I'm just giving you the options so that you know. So first one is fighting back, and without a foreign backing, they will be hammered by these tens of thousands of multinational Takfiri groups, or they have to stay silent, basically, and subjugated and continue living their lives humiliated by these Nusra terrorists. Or the third one is to leave the country. I am talking to countless number of Syrians in the country, and every single person I spoke to in these coastal cities, they all told me the same thing. I'm talking about friends, I'm talking about journalist contacts, I'm talking about related family members, and they're all telling me the same thing. We want for the killing to stop, and once it stops, we will leave. Anyone who has a few $1,000 in his pocket, they're all thinking of leaving the country. I don't know how, I don't know where, I don't know when, and how is this going to happen? Is it going to be through Turkey to Greece? Is it going to be legally? I'm not sure. However, this is what I'm being informed from these Syrian citizens. And it's very tragic because in any ways, if they fight back, they could be massacred, and if they leave, it's ethnic cleansing, and if they stay, they will leave subjugated and humiliated. So God really be with them and guide them through this big trouble. I would call it a historic tragedy. In any ways, as I was telling you about the multinational Takfiris, today I have read an article, and this article basically says that Syria, after the fall of Assad, has become an attractive destination for extremists. And I think this was the case for a long time, at least from 2012, 2013, when the offshoot of Al-Qaeda has been formed, and then the multinational Takfiris started flowing into the country through Turkey, of course. But most notably, they joined ISIS back then. And with the ascent of a new government predominantly composed of radical Islamists, a platform has been created for these individuals who face systematic ideological challenges in their home countries to congregate in Syria. And this is true because now these the leaderships or the leaders and the officers of these multinational takfiris from Uzbekistan, from Tajikistan, from Turkmenistan, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, we have from Tunisia, we have from Egypt, we have from the Uyghurs. They are also becoming government positions. So they are part of the Syrian army now. So someone from Central Asia or from Far East Asia or from the Gulf that has no relation at all to Syria can hold a government position and also become a Syrian. Meanwhile, these minions of Jolani, they are telling me day and night, 24/7, that I'm not a Syrian. You're an Armenian. Why do you call yourself a Syrian? Have you guys heard of an ethnicity called Syrian? Syria is a melting pot of different ethnicities, different religions, different sects, different cultures, different civilizations. There are different dominations within every religion and sect. These people are complete ignorant, so they don't know that the history of the Armenians go back to the 2nd century before BC, so which means before the Arabs and before the Muslims arrived to Syria. Nobody has the ownership over Syria, everybody is part of the Syrian nationhood, and we are all Syrian citizens. But this type of people, because they project their racism and their prejudice on me, so I've been receiving lots of backlash in the past few days. I've been called a far right, I've been called a racist, I've been called an anti-Islam. And those accusations are quite funny because they say that I'm hating the Muslim people in Syria, and this is so absurd when you remember the atrocities, the onslaught which happened only recently in Gaza, and I've been speaking up and shedding light on the suffering of the Palestinian people. Nobody back then said you're an anti-Islam. When there is injustice, I am speaking about the injustices, right? So I'm not an anti-Muslim at all. In the contrary, I actually despise some of the ideologies, for example, the Wahhabism and these takfiris. And this is the same ideology that they have exported to Afghanistan in the late 70s and early 80s, and they have created Al-Qaeda. So if my hatred for Al-Qaeda types and ISIS types is equal to Islamophobia or anti-Islam, then these people are basically saying that Islam is ISIS. So the people who are criticizing me for hating on Al-Qaeda are basically making a big disservice for their religion by equating between ISIS, Nusra, Qaeda, and Islam. And it's not me who is doing that, it's them who they're doing this. And in this case, it seems that we have tens of thousands of these multinational takfiris. Marat Imankulov, he is the chairman of the National Security Council of Kyrgyzstan. He stated at the Collective Security Conference at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization in Central Asia that, quote, more than 20,000 fighters from East Turkestan along with their families have joined the new Syrian security forces via Turkey and by ship. Additionally, more than 5,000 other extremist fighters have been transferred to Syria from Central Asia and the Caucasus, posing direct threat to regional security. So minimum we have 25,000 multinational takfiris in Syria. And the question here is for the countries that these terrorists came to, our country, because the killing is happening in our country. So you have now around 30 to 40% of the terrorists in al-Nusra, HTS, call them whatever you want, are multinational, and they're killing us, the Syrians, right? So who bears the responsibility for it? And why should the Syrians pay the price? This is, I think, a serious question that we have to address in this case. I'm probably going to post another video tonight, and that is a conversation with Neil Oliver. He had me on his show. I was also on the show of Jake Shields, by the way, recently. I'm trying to go to different podcasts and participate in different podcasts and communicate with different audiences because I'm truly interested in building bridges. I really don't care about the political position of the person who is having me on his show, because some people are accused of different things. Like I myself, because once you're influential and you are truly pushing back against certain narratives, some people hate you, some people start calling you names. So when I go to podcast, for example, if this podcast is right, is center, is left, is whatever, it's completely irrelevant for me because I'm responsible for what I say, and I'm not responsible for the words and the deeds, or if anything, the host said in his own platform. So I'm with the right when the right is correct, and I'm with the left when the left is correct. This is, I think, very important to make this statement for you as well as followers of Syriana Analysis. Now, Jolani, after committing all these crimes in Syria, televised, that we have seen all on X and other social media platforms, he is now invited to the EU to come to, I think, Brussels in order to participate in a conference to receive donations for Syria. The European and some Western countries, Canada, Germany, and other countries, the Netherlands, they have sent tens of millions of euros now to the Jolani government, basically. They say it's for humanitarian help and reconstruction, this and that, and they're lifting sanctions. But this is just like you are thanking him for committing all these crimes in Syria. Like, I'm genuinely baffled, like the EU is inviting someone like Jolani. You know, if the issue was with the killing, Jolani is doing a killing as well. Why accepting Jolani, but before him, Assad was rejected and isolated because you said he's killing people? But now this person is also televising us basically live, all these massacres based on identity and based on the religion of the people. It's basically sectarian-oriented massacres, and there is the intent of committing genocide, according to the militants of Jolani. They're saying these things. I'm not saying it. But he's accepted now in Europe. Is this what the European Union stands for? Is this the freedom, democracy, human rights, etc., etc.? So we're now just putting everything in the bin? It's so absurd. I think that the only two powers which can really change the situation in Syria now, in Latakia, Tartus, Jableh, and Banyas, and these places, are the US and Moscow. So I would really hope that the officials in the US and Moscow coordinate, cooperate, work behind the closed doors in order to press Erdogan, because if Trump calls Erdogan and Erdogan like tasks the most junior official in his cabinet or in his government, like if the governor of Gaziantep picks up the phone and calls Jolani, he will stop the killing. So I think this is a moral responsibility and also political responsibility, because the US and Russia are superpowers, and since they are cooperating in Ukraine, it would be amazing if this cooperation also would extend to Syria in order to stop the killing. Stopping the killing is the priority. Like, there is no, the people are not asking anything else. I'm talking to people just for the killing to stop. We don't want anything else. We don't want to participate in politics, in army, to have any participation in the power structures of the country. Nothing. Just want for the killing to stop. I think this is the bare minimum. However, it is something that is very important to preserve the existence of these people at the end of the day. I just wanted to make this update, guys, for you. I wish you peace. Peace be upon you. Peace be upon the Syrian people. Salam.